much around at that time. The idea of the Cold War. And actually, it takes a lot of its movie cues from sort of sci-fi B movies of that era. So it's a bit of a hodgepodge, because although you've got the original Indiana Jones, he's in the jungle, he's an archaeologist, you've also got elements of late 1950s culture in there, which don't necessarily marry particularly brilliantly with the idea of the old school adventurer.
Yeah.
But you know, it gets by just because it's Steven Spielberg just manipulates the audience in a very good way. You know, he just completely knows how to play the audience and how to take you along on that ride.
Indiana Jones hates snakes. I imagine some snakes make an appearance.
Well, there's actually a moment where he has to rely on a snake to save his life.
Oh, his old enemy.
See, what's he going to do?
Oh, fantastic.
What is he going to do?
Well, please don't give anything else away.
And those little moments, I think, are what the whole franchise, but also what Steven Spielberg, in his blockbuster mode, you know, what he can do brilliantly is kind of play really big dramatic moments and then just put a nice little cute spin on the whole thing.
And finally, on the subject of Jones, a lot of people are saying, is Harrison too old to be an action hero?
Well, yeah, I mean, beforehand I'm kind of sort of beating my chest and going, no, of course not, that's ageist. But you watch it and he is pretty old now. I mean, you can throw in a few gags about, oh, I'm too old for this, but it's, you know, it is stretching credibility. And I think part of the reason why I said a few seconds ago why perhaps it's not as classic as the other ones is because, you know, as far-fetched as Temple of Doom was, you did actually believe that it could happen, but with this one you're watching it thinking that would never happen in a million years.
Oh, well, that's a shame. Well, I'm still looking forward to it enormously.
Yeah, and it's still good fun, absolutely good fun.
Just briefly, another quick overview of the other films at the festival. Did you get a chance to see the Woody Allen film?
No, I'm only here for the weekend. I'm only here kind of on Radio 1 duties for Indiana Jones because we're doing a lot of stuff on it next week. So Woody Allen, I'm afraid, went out the window a little bit. Although I've heard very good things, because this is called Vicky Cristina Barcelona, a romantic comedy set in Spain, and it's actually meant to be the best thing he's done in years, which I'm sure everyone says about each new film he does. But, you know, reading the reviews of this one, it genuinely sounds great.
This is the one with the lesbian romp, is that right? Scarlett Johansson and
yeah, he's actually meant
Cruz.
to be very sexy. I think that's part of the reason why it's kind of him back on track, because it feels quite steamy. You've got Penelope Cruz, Javier Bardem, Scarlett Johansson.
Oh, I thought it was a threesome with Woody and those two. That would have been extraordinarily sexy. Hey, listen, I'm a big fan of Woody. I'd love to see that kind of romp going on. That would put him back on the top for me. And what are the other big films, the film buzz is in Cannes?
Well, I mean, it's really weighted this year so much in favour of this weekend and Indiana Jones weekend. Normally things spread out quite evenly, so I'm going to go. Although you do have like Clint Eastwood's new movie called The Changeling with Angelina Jolie. You know, you have Charlie Kaufman, who I'm a big fan of, who wrote Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. His new movie is out here. So there are some interesting things coming out next week, but really it's very much focused on this weekend.
Thank you very much indeed, James. We have to let you go. We've got to squeeze in more music. But we appreciate talking to you.
Au revoir!
Class. Hang on.
Do you want to say what it is?
Sorry, I will do, yes. Sorry, I was getting too carried away there, trying to be slick, and I've embarrassed myself. I think this hat's getting hot as well. Let's take the hat off and focus. Yeah, I know. So, listen, Jason Mraz, we're a fan of Jason Mraz. Have we played him in the past? I don't think we have.
I don't know if you have.
We have, but anyway, he was very kind enough to do some sessions for us while I was away. Sadly, I wasn't able to get chatting with Jason, but he's recorded a bunch of different tunes for us. And this is one of his early singles. This is his, and so this is recorded specially for the show, Jason Mraz, and this is The Remedy. Jason Mraz recorded exclusively in the Hub session, in the Hub, what we call over there the Hub, just by the toilets, just a space by the toilets. And yes, there will be more tunes from Jason in forthcoming shows recorded especially for us, and including tracks from his new album, We Sing, We Dance, We Steal Things, which we believe is out now.
Yeah, or
excellent,
soon.
or soon. So brilliant. That's exactly the kind of information I'm looking for from a producer.
Great.
So after the news, we will be delving into the Pigeonhole, listening to three of the big songs. You may be already familiar with them. If you stopped listening while we were away to Six Music, then you may not yet have heard these new tunes from Coldplay, from The Cure, and from Spiritualized. We'll be checking them out, plus the Smiths, after the news.
On digital.
I'm not going to sit on the fence. Strange Ways Here We Come is my favourite Smiths album. Thoughts?
Correct.
Thank you very much. Steve Show, BBC Six Music with me, Steve Merchant, and my little gang here. Before we get to the new tunes from the Pigeonhole, quickly, I've not really, I've been talking about myself and Cambodia, I've been playing the flute and stuff. Well, I haven't, but you have. Rufus, they're playing along to the Smiths magnificently.
Thank you.
I should have turned the fader up. I don't know what I was thinking. But how have you guys been? Sammy, have you been okay?
I've been alright. I had a few incidents today, annoyingly. I've been doing some lovely things, DIY for my nana, putting a loft hatch in the house, doing some emulsioning. I've been doing practical things with my time.
Yeah, you should get a job.
I know, you'd think I'd get round to that, but no. But today was a bit sad. I didn't sleep much at all last night. Got on my train this morning, I thought, here's a lovely opportune nap point. Put the MP3 player on.
Thank you.
Nearly gave that away. Fell asleep against the window. I was having a lovely nap. Completely thought I was back in bed with my best friend, who is lovely.
You thought you were in bed with your best friend?
Well, I had been. I'd gotten up to have to come here. And she's...
Is that what they call it? Ooh. That's what they call him in the north. A best friend. Hello, Mum, have you met my best friend?
In my head, she's right there next to me, and someone started shaking me. I said, well, I'm in bed, really loudly.
Sure.
Oh, it was the ticket inspector, I want my ticket.
Ooh.
I shouted in his face, no, I'm in bed. Now, I hadn't realised if that's what I'd actually said. You're not sure if you've vocalised it, or if it was internal, or I'd just shouted bed at him, and it was some sort of weird come on. I was really confused.
Bed now.
But whatever I'd said had baffled onlookers, because they all just stared at me to the point where I had to move to another carriage. And then I had to make that awful decision. I've obviously done something wrong. Do I make it worse by acknowledging that and moving? But I had to, just to sleep again. It was horrible.
If you want people to look at you strangely, wear a hat. But wear a hat and be 6'7" in Cambodia. Ooh. Ooh, that turned some heads. Roof, have you been okay?
I've been fine, Steve. I've been doing something rather unusual, which is to slowly descend into the character of Edward VIII.
We've all been there.
Yeah, I think many listeners will have done that at least once in their lives. Now, I'm beginning, for my new theatre role, I'm slowly descending into the character of the Duke of Windsor, starting to comb my hair in his way, starting to learn how to speak like he did in 1936.
You already sound exactly... You're posher than he was.
Well, that's kind of you, Steve. But I did spend an hour with a voice coach learning how to tap my R's, to lift my EA sounds, and so on.
Would you give us a quick blast of how he sounded?
He kind of you'll see the trouble is it's happy and things like that, and America is tapping an R means doing that to an R. America, you're very, very happy. And it's all that sort of thing, and the I sound is very lifted. So it's if I could tell you how I felt right now, it would be it's that sort of thing. So I've got to master that accent.
Dan, I imagine you've been doing something equally exciting.
Yeah, I went to the Costa Brava down in Spain, near Benidorm actually. I was on holiday, like yourself, Steve, but I was away with my girlfriend and her parents.
Ooh, slow
Lots
down.
of opportunities to go wrong there.
That sounds like a sitcom waiting to happen.
Yeah, well, I managed to avoid most of the obvious pitfalls, although I did skid off a mountain road in the hire car at one point.
Whoa. Whilst driving the family?
Yeah, everyone was in there.
Crumbs.
Luckily, I went into a lay-by. I mean, obviously, we didn't tumble down to an untimely death.
Yes.
I should make that clear.
A lot of people wishing you had on the vlogs.
Yeah. Well,
You know, he's not a popular. He's not a popular member of the team.
Running now, least popular sidekick on the Steve Show, but I'm becoming proud of it. But unlucky folks, I didn't tumble down the mountainside to a grisly doom. But I think I recovered from that. But it was hairy.
And Harry, how's your time been while we've been away?
Just been working hard, Steve. Credit crunch properly biting now. Cutbacks, restructures. You got to keep your nose clean now, and you just got to keep your head down, get on with it. Hope you're not picked. Hope no one comes along, taps you on the shoulder, says, "Look, you had your time, get out."
Hey, that's going to happen one day on this show, isn't it? It's inevitable. It's so inevitable. I wonder which one it will be. I'll tell you what, cheer you up. Lovely bit of new Coldplay.
Ooh.
Oh.
New single from Coldplay from their forthcoming album Viva La Vida, which is out on the June 16th, and that's called Violet Hill. So Steve Show, Six Music, and we are delving into Pigeonhole, getting the verdict from my posse here on these big tunes. And Rufus, starting with you, Coldplay gets something of a rotten rap just for having shifted so many records. Is that fair?
I don't think it is entirely. I think a lot of people have me down as a kind of classic Coldplay listener as well, which I also think's unfair, and I'm angrier about that than about what you said.
Really?
Much angrier. I wish I would like it if Chris was contractually obliged to get Lupe Fiasco back on all of his records.
Right, yes.
It'd be quite fun if there were brilliantly inappropriate rhymes in the middle eight of all of Martin's kind of toe-tapping classics.
Yeah.
But no, I thought that Coldplay, but it was very, very good classic Coldplay, and I enjoyed it very much.
Oh, Sammy's already shaking her head.
I just disagree that it's classic Coldplay. When I heard it, you don't immediately think there's a Coldplay classic. I think they've really detracted from what they've been used to doing. For me, I love it because I love the song and I think, great, that's something exciting, and it's, it's got a good beat. But is it dangerous to not sound like Coldplay anymore if you're huge for sounding like Coldplay?
But isn't that the point, that they're always going to have to do a departure of some sort in order to have longevity? Come on, think.
Their best single, in my opinion, was Shiver, which doesn't sound like any of the rest of Coldplay. Really, when you listen to them together, it's not a sad piano-y ballady thumpy, which that wasn't as well. So I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. We'll have to see.
But you were charmed by it, nevertheless.
Oh, that was lovely, yeah.
So, Harry, Sammy's saying that it's not enough Coldplay-like to be Coldplay. Is it sufficiently different to have attracted your attention?
Well, no, I just thought it sounded like Coldplay. I mean, I went to see them a few years ago. I went to the old Michael Eavis's Pilton party that he has after Glastonbury, the little village one. And Chris Martin was there and, with the other guy, and they just played as a two-piece. It was really nice, but I don't think as a band they've really ever progressed, it just sounds like Coldplay. And, I'm never going to buy it, but I'll hear it everywhere. It's perfectly pleasant enough, but really, I mean, I don't know what motivates them to go back into the studio to make stuff like that.
Tiny Dan, what motivates them to go back into the studio?
Probably the big pots of cash that they receive, I imagine. But I'm with Harry on that felt like quite a lot of Coldplay, and I just feel with them that they're not going to do anything that really is going to excite me again. I quite liked it when they first came out, and I don't blame them at all for constantly returning to the same themes, but they're like a friend you met at a party. You started hanging out with him, and it was great, and then you realised, a little bit dull, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
That's harsh.
Bit harsh, actually. I retract that statement.
Excellent. Good. I like a man who stands by his principles. Hey, you know what Steve Lamacq does on the... he has a round table where people review records, which we've shamelessly ripped off. He gets the listeners to contribute their thoughts. Shall we ask for the listeners' thoughts?
Why not?
Listeners, what are your thoughts? You know how to get in touch by now. We'll have the new one from The Cure after this.
We've kicked off our summer festival.
I love what you do to me. Current single from The Cure, that is The Only One. Before we get our verdict from the panel here on that, the panel, as if
have we been promoted
suddenly? But we were asking for your views on Coldplay. There's been a couple.
Ferguson St Andrews, Coldplay in single, not sounding like clocks / speed of sound shocker. Ergo, he likes it. Definitely the best thing since Parachutes / Shiver. Andy and Sonny Bolton, Coldplay, despite early exciting promise, remained disappointingly bland. More Radio 2 than 6 Music. Must agree.
We've offended him. I wonder if he preferred The Cure. Did you, Tiny Dan?
I'm going to be a complete hypocrite, because having complained about Coldplay sounding like Coldplay, The Cure sounding just like The Cure, and I loved it. Like the last 10 years have never happened, but in many ways, I wish they never did. So many bad things
melancholy.
So many bad things.
That's really quite tragic. If only we had sort of the flute that we could accompany our future melancholy thoughts with, or maybe a saw. We should bring in a saw next week that you can perhaps play, and then perhaps saw off. Saw off the misery, the misery that you feel in your... Rufus, you must have bloody loved The Cure.
I didn't like The Cure.
What?
No, a lot of tapes and on a lot of long car journeys and a lot of rain on the way back to school and not to university. All good, but no, I'm being interested in what The Cure have been up to for about 8 years now. Sorry to say.
That's shocking.
I'm slamming them.
I always think that Robert Smith is sort of strangely underrated. His name doesn't ever quite pop up in the history of great British songwriters. Is that just, Harry?
I'm not sure, Steve. Maybe it is. Maybe it isn't. The thing with The Cure is they have 2 different songs, don't they? They have the upbeat, summery one like that, and they have the mopey, guff, rubbish ones as well. And that was one of the ones I liked, one of the summery ones.